Hi there. Ever wanted to host your videos online in a private place that you control and own? Well, the best way to do that is with a service called PeerTube. So today I'm going to show you how to get set up on FediHost using PeerTube so that you can have your own videos hosted on your own platform that's connected to the fediverse and all the wonderful people on it. So there's two ways you can go get started. If you go to the FediHost website, you click on pricing, and you scroll down, you'll find yourself the PeerTube instances, PeerTube 0, 10, 20, etc. Or if you already have a FediHost account, you can just go to New Services and select PeerTube. So this will give you the options for PeerTube. The first thing to note is as you go up in price, you get more encoders. This is a unique feature of FediHost as far as I know. What we have is a very powerful server that encodes videos. The reason for this is when you upload videos to PeerTube in the format that came out of, say, your video editing program, they're often really large and not optimized for the web experience. I guess part of the reason PeerTube is called PeerTube is it uses this feature of web browsers that lets you share peer-to-peer chunks of videos. This reduces the burden on your server, but it does mean that usually the thing that was uploaded by default isn't compatible and it needs to be converted. It also needs to be converted into multiple different resolutions. So like if we have a look, we go to video.fedihost.co and we look at, say, a previous tutorial that I've done here, you can see there's multiple different resolutions. So you've got, HD right down to kind of a grainy 480. You can see as I increase it that the quality increases, unless you're actually watching this in 480, in which case you can probably see a skin-like colored potato in the middle of a frame who looks kind of high right now, actually. Let's just change that frame. There we go. Looks like there's a bit more attention being given to the viewer. So the thing is, creating these different resolutions, these different qualities, is quite resource intensive. Each of those videos is a different encoder job. When you have one encoder slot guaranteed on our powerful server, it could take quite a while to process your whole job. If this is like an hour-long 4K video with one encoder, you might be waiting overnight. If you have two encoders, twice the speed. 3 encoders, 3 times the speed. 4 encoders, basically the job will be done in parallel, and as soon as one encode's finished, the others will probably be finished. I'd say with this, the best thing to do is start off with the basic plan, and then, if you realize after a while, I'd like it to, encode faster, I'm waiting too long for the job to finish, then you can always increase to the higher number of encoders. The other two things are the Video Studio feature, which is a feature inside PeerTube which lets you edit a video that you've already uploaded, as in like make cuts and delete sections and actually kind of edit it. I've never used this feature because PeerTube, one of its awesome features is it lets you re-upload videos. So if I've gone and I've created a video over on my editing program, I would prefer to edit in my editing program, render it out, and then just replace the video that's already there. But it exists, and I think it's probably more useful on servers that have a lot of other users on them who maybe just upload raw video straight out of their camera onto the PeerTube instance and then want to do some editing. The thing that I think most people would pay for a higher plan in order to get is the live streaming feature. Live streams are extremely resource intensive and just require those more expensive dedicated resources to handle. So if you're wanting to do live streaming, yeah, unfortunately that does just require forking out more. There's really no two ways around that. We haven't figured out how to put live stream encoding onto a separate service yet. Although, we're always trying to build helpful new products, so maybe we'll figure out how to crack the case on that one of these days. If we're looking at create a new service here, the scenario is that Consultatron has been asked by the Discount Bucket warehouse to set them up with a PeerTube instance. So the Discount Bucket warehouse is a fairly basic business. They don't need a giant PeerTube instance, and although they are a bulk retailer, they don't plan on having a ton of video traffic. They just want to show some of their products. So if we jump over to create a new service for Consultatron, who are a marketing consultant for the Discount Bucket warehouse, I guess, they just need the basic PeerTube instance. Now the next screen is where you choose the domain. So you have a few options here. If we go with a non-custom domain, you can use these preset FediHost domains. So you could go with buckets.fedihost or discount bucket warehouse.fedihost.io or Federacy. Okay. The problem is, imagine that the Discount Bucket Warehouse has a crazy amount of success with their PeerTube instance, and they've printed business cards and told everyone, go to discountbucketwarehouse.federacy.io, check out our services, have a look at our buckets. If they've done that, and then one day they decide, FediHost isn't working for us, we want to shift off FediHost and onto a different server. It's so popular that we should bring this in-house and build our own server farm and stuff. In this situation, they would be stuck because we own this top level domain here and the Discount Bucket Warehouse section. The problem is with using these domains, it locks you into using fedihost. So I think these are best used for like extremely low cost instances, or if people are wanting to test things out but not buy a domain, because you can really easily spin them up. I use these all the time to create like quick test instances and see how things work without having to go set up a DNS server elsewhere. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend this unless you're just playing around and seeing how it works. You're much more likely to be finding yourself in the custom domain settings. And this is where you need to choose your domain. Now you might think, oh, I want to be at discountbucketwarehouse.com, right? Well, the problem is that most people, if you already have a domain, will already have a website parked there. So if I go and I try to select this domain, the thing is it's not going to work, right? Because we already have a website at that address. It's not possible to have a PeerTube instance like video.fedihost occupying the same address as an existing website. So there's a couple of ways to solve this. One way is to go and buy your own top level domain. And you might already have that. You may have gone out and bought cool, real, awesome videos.social. In that case, you can go ahead and you can use that. So you go over and you go buy a domain, search buy a domain, go into Namecheap, say, search, grab that domain, check out, buy the domain. Great. The way that you typically handle it if you're a company like the Discount Bucket Warehouse, which is for sure a real company, is to use a subdomain. And we can already see that if we go over to m.thediscountbucketwarehouse, this is the Discount Bucket Warehouse's Mastodon instance. So they get to have their website located over here, right at Discount Bucket Warehouse, and m.discountbucketwarehouse, that's their Mastodon instance. And in this case, they can go for video.discountbucketwarehouse. And that's where they want to host their video. Now we go select domain, you'll see there's still an error because we need to now update the DNS settings. Whether you've done it at the root domain, whether you've done it at the subdomain, you need to add DNS variables. You need to change the DNS settings so that the address that you have, your kind of text address, translates to the location where the PeerTube instance is. If you're confused about this, don't worry, we'll go through it right now. So once you've bought a domain, if you've gone and bought coolvideos.social, you'll often see inside there something along the lines of edit DNS settings, change DNS settings. You'll end up with a screen that looks something like this, where you have a, CNAME, MX, you'll see words like that, and a list where you have something like a name or a host name, and a value or content or text or something like that. And what this is a kind of directory for where to send the various things attached to your domain. And what you want to do is update them so that they match these DNS settings that are over here. So if we have a look, you can see we want type CNAME, TTL 600, hostname, video.discountbucketwarehouse.com, and target lb.fedihost.co. So if we have a look over here, create a new record, you can see these are the different options, and the one that we want is CNAME. This is the type over here. Now, if we look at the other fields, we've got hostname is an alias of, and TTL. TTL is pretty easy, that's 600. Sometimes it might be called time to live, I think that's what it stands for. This is the amount of time it takes to broadcast this record, and we want a low number because we don't want to be waiting all day for the DNS record to propagate across the internet. Hostname over here, this is probably where things get most confusing. You have these two fields, you can muddle them. You can put one thing in the other when you actually are supposed to put it in this one. In this case, typically the one on the left will be the host name, the first one will be the host name, and the one on the right will be the target. So let's put them in here. And this is like fine. Like in this case, target is an alias of. Host name that does match host name. So almost always you'll get one where the name does actually match. So you put in the one that matches, and then you can kind of safely assume that the other one, the alias or value or, something like that will be the other. Now everything looks good, right? But here's where there's the second thing that usually catches people. You can see here that the host name that we're entering is what we've pasted from the fediverse instructions here. But sometimes the service will do this thing of automatically appending your top level domain to the value you've put there. So you end up with something like this, video.discountbucketwarehouse.com.discountbucketwarehouse.com. We want it to be video.discountbucketwarehouse.com. And so we want to delete this so that we can see that it resolves to video.discountbucketwarehouse.com. And then you hit create. And a moment later, you should find that you can select the domain. Easy. If you can't select the domain, give it a few minutes. And if you still can't, what's probably going on is you've got the fields in the wrong order. Maybe it's video.discountbucketwarehouse.com.discountbucketwarehouse.com. Just try kind of a few permutations and it'll come right. If it's still running into issues, give it your best guess and leave it overnight. And if it's still broken, then it's probably time to reach out and contact support, either with your DNS provider or with fediverse. Now we go ahead and create the instance. And you can see that video.discountbucketwarehouse.com now has its creation scheduled, which will happen in short order. It's now provisioning, and then we can see it is now up and running using a kind of base 55 megs of storage. Now we can go over here, and you'll see the login credentials for the root user are located here, as well as some minor configuration settings. And you can see on the plan here, you can go and change your plan if you realize, oh, I actually do want to do live streaming. That's always an option. So the login credentials, your root and password. And if you go to visit the website, boom, here's our PeerTube instance. And to get started, we just put in root and password, hit login. And yeah, let's save it for this website. So configuring the instance, that's a whole nother story. There's lots of settings to explore there. But that's how easy it is to get up and running with PeerTube. Basically just the DNS settings are the main kind of hurdle there. Once you've figured that out, you're up and running. And for sure, when you've just started the instance, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want because no one's using it. So it's your sandbox to do what you want with. So I hope that was useful. And if you want to follow on with the next step and go through how to configure your PeerTube instance, we'll be making that tutorial shortly. So subscribe and follow us on Mastodon so that you know when that comes out. Bye for now.